This week, the New South Wales Blues named their new Origin coach, and it's a name that all New South Wales Blues fans will know. Welcome back to the Sports Playbook. We are Australia's weekly sports news podcast and we cover men's and women's sports. So here's everything that's happened this week in sports. NRL, Matt King is the new New South Wales Blues head coach. On Tuesday this week, it was announced by the New South Wales Blues that Matt King will be taking over from Laurie Daly as a new head coach for the State of Origin series. For Matt King, he has been the assistant coach at the Blues since 2024. So during 2024, Michael Maguire was the head coach before Laurie Daly took over in 2025 and led the Blues to the 2026 State of Origin series win. What's interesting here is what happened in the background. What most people didn't realise is Laurie Daly was only appointed in 2025 to be the succession plan, with Matt King then taking over for 2027. So it's smart play by New South Wales. And Matt King gets the keys to the Blues in the best possible moment, off the back of a State of Origin series win. And for Matt King, he's been the assistant coach under Trent Robinson at the Sydney Roosters, arguably one of the best franchises in the rugby league competition. And for Matt, he has played 9 State of Origin games for New South Wales between 2005 and 2007. And it's fair to say that King is an absolute try-scoring machine. But one thing was key when Matt was announced during this press conference. He wants one type of player to be playing for the New South Wales Blues. One that will bleed blue for their state, do anything for their mate. But more importantly, King wants a player that shows courage. Courage to go after a moment. Courage to back their teammate. When your lungs are absolutely burning, Matt wants that player to be right there and ready for a New South Wales Blues win or to be part of history. The only question is, can he find that for the 2027 series? In netball, it's been a landmark week for Super Netball. As we record this podcast in the evening of Wednesday, the 5th of August, it has been an absolute 24 hours for Super Netball, but only for positive reasons. Let's start with the first bit of news. Netball Australia and the Netball Players Association have come to an agreement for 1 year. So this means the collective players bargaining agreement has been signed until 2027, which is only good news across the league. Some key details is the salary cap has increased by 4%. It is not officially confirmed, but it's believed the salary cap sits at about $890,000, and that salary cap has to cover the 10 professional netball contracts in that team. That doesn't include the 11th player or the training partners. And on top of this, the 11th player, so this is one that is chosen at the team's discretion throughout the year, that playing contract gets an additional 25% salary increase, which is amazing news there. The one bit of information that stood out for me is the fact that Super Netball players can sign up to a 5-year agreement with their Super Netball club. So under the new collective players bargaining agreement, there can be contracts signed until the end of 2031, which is only a positive thing for Super Netball, the clubs, and the players themselves. For Netball Australia, they get continuity with their deals. With the clubs, they can decide who is going to be their marquee players, or players in fact. And for a player, financial security, the one thing they've been hoping for. The biggest deal they've been able to sign to date is a 3-year deal under the previous collective players bargaining agreement, so back in 2023. But this is amazing news. So if you're a netball fan, there's one question you should be asking. Which is the one player you want your club to build around until the end of 2031? Because that is the special marquee signing that all Super Netball teams want to explore. And the contracting window opens up right now. So what does that mean? Currently, until August 16th, players can sign with the clubs they were contracted to in 2026. But now, this is where things get interesting. From August 17th to August 28th, this is where a player who is contracted from 2026 can look to go to another club during that period. So we won't see any new players going to their clubs until that period of time. So one to watch for Super Netball fans. And the other bit of news to come from Wednesday, the 5th of August, is Giants Netball has a new owner. So Giants Netball was previously under Netball New South Wales with the affiliation with Giants at the AFL team. Now, Giants Netball will now be owned by SEN, the Sports Entertainment Network, or the Sports Entertainment Group as they call themselves. This group is owned by Craig Hutchinson, and this name might be familiar to you, and that's because the Sports Entertainment Network owns the Melbourne Mavericks, and this was when Collingwood back in 2023 decided they did not want their netball license. SEN bought that netball license, and in 2024 they renamed this club to be the Melbourne Mavericks, who have then gone on to play finals in only their third year of competition. So this is a very exciting period for Giants Netball. This ownership change will start from the 1st of October in 2026. The things you can expect from this new ownership: new name, new colours, new identity, but the club will still be based in Western Sydney. But Netball New South Wales will still retain the license for the New South Wales Swifts. And this is a very interesting one. The Swifts have been around for over 30 years. Going to 2027 will be their 31st year. For Giants, they've now been around for 10 years. They joined the competition back in 2017. And this feels like a nice refreshing period, a period of change that is required to start going forward for this club. It does beg the question, who is going to run this club? Because SEN got an amazing get with Shea Bolton-Brown being the GM at the Melbourne Mavericks. Unfortunately, Shea has stepped aside from the Melbourne Mavericks, and we're not sure where Shea will end up for 2027. But if it is part of the plan, what an amazing get if Shea was to be a part of this new identity for this netball club in 2027. New name, new colours, new identity, and a brand new era for Super Netball. It's the first time for Super Netball that they've had one private owner own more than two clubs. So this is starting to get more into that business mentality where Netball Australia really want to get into. They want to explore more revenue opportunities, and it will only help them for 2027. So you can tell it's been an exciting period for Super Netball. In football, Nessature Irakunda's transfer fee is nearing completion. If you are a Socceroos fan or an A-League fan, the name of Nessature Irankunda will be very familiar to you. It appears likely that Irankunda will be changing clubs from Watford in the Premier League to Portuguese giants Sporting CP. The base transfer fee for him is between $22 to $24 million, plus add-ons which could make this transfer fee up to $32 million Australian. And this is set to top the previous record with Harry Sutar being $27 million. And that's a transfer fee. If you listened to the last podcast, you would have heard me talk about Lucas Harrington and how he was going to get $24 million. That is not true. That's just a transfer fee, but Lucas will get a great contract wherever he goes. So I did hear your feedback. Apologies. But what this does for Australian football is only positive. It's a change in the guard and a real value test of how these Socceroos are testing on the open market. $32 million for a transfer fee is nothing to sneeze over. So well done to Nessature Irankunda plus Sporting CP. So with that, it's time to get into the weekend preview. So here are some games to look forward to. In AFL, this is an absolute blockbuster. Sunday, August the 9th, St Kilda will be taking on Carlton. That's at 7:20 p.m. and that's at Marvel Stadium. But the reason why this is so crucial is St Kilda sit 11th and Carlton sit 10th. So Carlton are just inside that wildcard bubble and St Kilda want to burst it. They want to get into those wildcard placings. And in rugby league, we are set for a fantastic game. Friday, the 7th of August, the Warriors will be taking on the Penrith Panthers. Friday, 7th of August at 6 p.m. First place third. The Panthers are playing with absolute momentum at the moment, but the Warriors, home ground advantage. And that is nothing to sneeze over. I think the Warriors, they could have a potential upset here, but Penrith are always on point. So, can the Warriors spoil the party, or will Penrith just be too good like every other weekend? That is your Sports Week sorted. So enjoy the weekend, and I'll be back on Monday with a full wrap-up of the weekend in sport. So until then, follow the Sports Playbook wherever you get us on your socials and listen wherever you get your podcast. I'd really appreciate it if you could send this podcast to one more person so they can get their fast sport news with no noise. Thank you for tuning in. We will catch you on the next episode.